Burnout is something that's on the internet almost like a myth. You see some of the gurus working 10, 12, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. It seems like that's all they do. But it's a load of nonsense because we're not like them. We're not at all. We're in a completely different place. Burnout is absolutely real and it's absolutely awful. Imagine if you got out of bed today and you started running. And I'm not a runner, so that'd have me knackered. So you start running and you run 1 mile. And then tomorrow you're like, I've got the hang of this. You run 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, then 7, every consecutive day. After a few of those days, you're going to hurt. You're going to be tired. You're going to be physically drained. You're not going to want to run tomorrow. You're going to be absolutely smoked. That's the exact same thing with business or life in general. You can get burnt out with anything. There'll be somebody somewhere that test flies fighter jets, and I don't know why this is my example, but in my head this is such a cool job, that tests new experimental aeroplanes, that thinks, oh, I've got to go in tomorrow and fly that F-16 round for 5 hours and do some flips. And even they'll be burnt out. There's no job you can do just forever without going overboard and just doing a bit much. You know, there'll be celebrities. You know, how often does Justin Bieber just want to go to the shop? Like, he's probably fed up sometimes of all the attention. And that's true with business as well. My biggest and best tip to avoiding burnout is, 1, do it in an industry or a niche that you're really passionate about and interested in. If it's one of your hobbies already, great, because you already give at least half a shit about what's going on. Right? If I tried to start a business with coats for winter for dogs, I don't have a dog, I don't want a dog, and if somebody dropped a dog off at my house, I'd be like, oh, do you have to? But as much as I know a bit about business, and I could create a product, and I could sell coats for dogs on the internet, those days where it's hard, that'd be extra hard, because I don't care. I run a small business that we call Mercs, and we sell weightlifting and CrossFit equipment. I'm massively into lifting. I love it. I've been lifting for years. And there's days where I'm like, I can't be bothered, but at least it's not that bad because I get to sell lifting gear, you know? Another pro tip to avoid burnout is just pace yourself. There'll be days where you don't want to stop. You'll be working hard, there'll be no one in the house, you'll be cracking on, you're firing in, and you'll be like, I can just go and go and go. Yeah, you can, but don't go too far to where you're absolutely exhausted mentally. And also, just have a bit of time off. You know, do your work in moderation, but even do moderation in moderation. That's a strange paradox, but sometimes it does you no harm to work 12 hours one day and no hours the next day. That's fine. You'll figure out what you're comfortable with. Don't get me wrong, still got to push yourself. There's still days where I get out of bed and I just think, I don't want to do this. But people need me, and this is what I signed up for. So it's quite challenging to kick your own arse. But you've got to do it. So burnout is absolutely a thing. Don't listen to people online that tell you it's a myth. It's absolutely real. And it's very likely one day you'll experience this. You know, you'll get to a point and you'll just feel miserable and you'll be sad and you just don't want to do the work you normally want to do. That's burnout. You just need a rest. You need some time off. Or what I find helps is, rather than continuing to plod on with the jobs I don't really want to do, I switch it up. I think, right, if I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, what's a job that I don't mind? I quite like learning. So I'll go down a rabbit hole of trying to learn some new skills, try to dive into something else, I find learning interesting and exciting because it's new. I'm acquiring knowledge. So that's one way I've found to just push burnout to one side, is if you need to keep going, just do something slightly different. But yeah, burnout's very real, and at some point it'll get you. And that's okay. Another one last thing I just sprung to mind. The amount you can work is something. Your capacity for work needs to be trained, same as your capacity for running. You can't go out today. I couldn't go out and run 10 miles. I just can't do it. In the same way, I probably couldn't get up tomorrow and work for 12 hours. Maybe I could push myself to do it, but then when you break it down, how many hours of your 12 were actually good quality? You know, are you better off doing a really intense block of 4 hours, taking 3 hours off, and doing another block of 4 hours? You might get the same amount of work done as if you were just sat at a desk for 12. So bear that in mind too. Quality is important. It's not just about slugging it out with a quantity. Anyway, speaking of burnout and working, I need to get back to work. You do too. And I will catch up with you soon. Adios.